Do you feel like you've ever had a relationship with a teacher that was this close, or that they get a transfer letter, you're breaking down, or you feel like, you know what, genuinely this is a big loss, or the classroom in general feels like that?
Absolutely not.
Are you serious? Welcome to Hadithi, the nostalgia podcast. We take you on a trip down memory lane to your primary and secondary school days through captivating compositions and inshas read to you by your favorite personalities. My name is Mariam. I'm a TV and radio presenter and aspiring foodie. And today I have with me Stephen Mwangi, aka Mwas. He is a wordsmith, a social media influencer, an all-round funny guy. Welcome, Mwas.
Thank you so much for having me.
It is so nice to have you.
Yeah.
I know you're an 844 kid like me.
Def.
But I want to know what were your most fond memories of 844. I know that there might not be many, but how many do you have?
I just used to look forward to the Friday lunch breaks. Because on Friday we had this unspoken rule that everyone eats fries and sausage in our school. So we used to get lunch coming from home at around 12:45. Then you go pick it up. And then we go back to class. And then the people who used to be in boarding used to go to the dining hall and then they eat rice and dengu. So the goal was for them to finish early and then come to class when we're still not done with our fries so we can share.
Okay, that's sad to be the kid eating rice and dengu while your mates are eating chips and sausage.
And when my parents wanted to punish me for something, on Fridays they wouldn't bring fries. They'll bring rice and dengu, rice beans, ugali greens or something. Yeah.
You know, it's so funny. I see people with these takes about not using food as a reward system. And I'm like, it's not my fault. As a kid, you do well, you get good food.
Yes.
You do badly, it's like, okay, you'll just eat regular stuff.
Yeah.
And then fast forward 20 years later, you have a good workout, have a good meeting, and you're like, you know what? I deserve a good meal.
Yeah. It's all about balance.
It is all about balance.
Yeah.
Do you have any fond memories of your primary school, like especially the younger years? Because I think that's when we really had time to be kids.
Yeah.
Because school wasn't too long. I think by 3 p.m. you're done.
Yeah.
I used to love being able to leave the school and to go buy like ice, like the popsicles.
Yeah.
Or buy maembe na pilipili.
Yes.
I don't know if it has an English name. Stuff like that. That was my favorite part of the day. Like home time, that bell. What was your favorite like lower primary time of day?
For me, it was, I think that the as well, because we used to leave school at 3:10 and then we used to have like a 10-15 minute trek home. And guys would play along the way and we'd go chokoza kids from other schools. But I think the most profound memories I have from my earlier years were like the transition from class 3 to class 4. Because it came with like a lot of responsibility. You stop using pencils and now you can use the fountain pen. Or you stop wearing the bladder tie and now you can wear the tie where you have to learn how to tie it.
I had forgotten about the ties.
Yes.
Oh my gosh. The transitions were actually such a big deal
yes,
to us as kids.
Because we looked forward to it. January for class 4 first term, everyone used to be there early. And then you're transitioning from these flat out layout desks to ones where you can lock and have a padlock and have a keychain on your waist.
Big boy moves.
Yes, it was big boy moves. And then you have a new tie. You start, you learn how to use a fountain pen with ink and everything. You have longer exercise books. It was crazy. Then they tell you, now you're in upper primary.
So today we have a really dope insha. It's about a teacher-student relationship, but that goes beyond the normal that we're used to. And I think we'll just dive right into it. It's called Mwalimu Wangu Mwiria.
Okay, so I guess Mwiria is the name of the teacher.
Yes, it is the name of the teacher.
Okay.
So we can start.
Okay, the insha is called Mwalimu Wangu Mwiria. Mvua iliyokuwa ikinyesha kidindia hatimaye ilianuka. Mwalimu wetu wa Kiswahili aliingia darasani akiwa na madaftari yetu aliyokamilisha kusahihisha. Hakuwa peke yake. Nyuma yake kumfuata unyo kwa unyo alikuwa ni mwanadada mrembo ambaye nilishindwa iwapo alikuwa ndiyo mkewe. Alikuwa mwenye ngozi nyororo kama ya mtoto mdogo.
I think it's just smooth as a baby's bum
Yeah.
in Kiswahili. Alikuwa
Wote wawili walitabasamu tulipo nyanyuka kutoka madawatini kuitikia maamkio yao ya asubuhi. Sikuwaona kama waliofaa kuwa bibi na bwana. Yule kidosho alikuwa mrefu kimo cha mlingoti, mwenye uzito wa mke himila. Huku maskini mwalimu wetu alionekana kibirikizi mbele yake. Mke ndiye aliyeinamisha kichwa, mume alikuwa akiinua chake. wakitazamana.
I want to do a kamusi check for kibirikizi. What
Can I try and guess what it is?
Yes, try.
Kibirikizi is like...
For context, mwalimu wetu akionekana kibirikizi mbele yake.
I think kibirikizi is a short person.
Kibirikizi, mtu mfupi kupita kawaida, mbilikimo, kibete, kijimo.
Kibete.
Kibete, I thought that was a pass.
Kibete is a pass. Oh. I'm just laughing because there's an esto called Lower Kibete, so I'm just saying Lower Kibete. Like a really, really short person.
Lower Kibete.
Yeah.
So we're just establishing that she's taller than him?
Yeah, and she's very pretty.
Okay.
She has very fair and soft skin. Mwalimu Mwiria alimjulisha kwetu nikamaka. Hakika hawakuwa na uhusiano wa karibu. Alikuwa eti ni mwalimu wetu mtarajiwa wa Kiswahili. Tayari kuchukua pahali pake mwalimu Mwiria, ambaye alitushangaza kwa kutangaza kuwa alipata barua ya uhamisho. Machozi yanilengalenga machoni, nilijipata nikitetemeka mashavuni, mdomo ukiwa umepanuka. Mara darasa likakumbwa na kimya chenye kishindo. Wanafunzi wengi walishindwa kujizuia machozi. First of all, this composition is written by a class 8 Ptoi.
No,
like
so we'll do that a bit later and try to figure out how old they are. But so far, I don't feel like this is a primary school.
The Swahili this is on another level. Wala. Yeah. Hakika mwalimu Mwiria alipendwa na karibu kila mmoja wetu. Hakukuwa na mwalimu wa kufananishwa naye. Tuliingiwa na gamu. Haikuwa nia yetu kumuonyesha mwalimu huyo mgeni chuki. Ila hatukutaka yeyote kuchukua mahali pake mwalimu Mwiria. Alikuwa ni mwalimu wetu wa kipekee.
Okay. Do you feel like you've ever had a relationship with a teacher that was this close, or that they get a transfer letter, you're breaking down, or you feel like, you know what, genuinely this is a big loss, or the classroom in general feels like that?
Absolutely not.
Are you serious? That's not one teacher you're like, you know what, me and you were operating on the same wavelength. I
try and think about it, and because I don't think there's any teacher who would have left and I'd have cried or felt bad.
You'd have just been like,
I just feel like, it was nice. Thank you, Mr. Njoroge, for teaching me Siari. I think it's because like we had very traumatic experiences with teachers growing up, like the caning and everything. I never used to get the worst end of the stick because I was smart. But my friends used to like if I get 98% in science and someone has 72, and then everyone has to be beaten up to 100. So if you have 98, you get 2 strokes. You have 72, you get 18.
That's so messed up, by the way.
Yeah, 28.
We never even questioned how people come up with these things.
Yeah.
And I remember, like, the schools that used to use the gas pipe as a cane.
Yep.
I'm just like, you saw this household tool meant to make cooking easier, but you're like, no, I'll use this to punish the children.
And there's imagine there are teachers who are so passionate about you see like how samurais in like animes like craft their swords.
Yes.
There are those teachers who would get a bamboo stick and then dry it out for 6 days, then dip it in kerosene, then stroke it and then they're like, this cane will now serve me for another 1 term.
And
they used to leave it deliberately in the staff room so that when it's time to beat someone up, they're like, go get it from my locker.
Which is also psychological torture in itself. Like getting someone to get you the cane that you're going to use to whoop them.
Yeah.
That's like telling someone to go get the cyanide when they're on death row. You know, Imagine. Go get the mercury I'm about to inject into you, or whatever poison they use.
It doesn't make sense,
It really is messed up.
So I really didn't have like a close relationship with any teachers. Any teacher that I was closely related to was only for PR, because I was that kind of student who didn't want to be on the wrong side of anything.
To be honest, I think there's at least like 2 teachers that I found were very impactful in my life. Not because they were great at teaching, but because they were kind. Like those are the ones I remember. They were kind to me. They were kind generally to their classrooms. There was one in class 4 and then our class teacher all through high school. So those, just because they were nice and they seemed to genuinely care about you as a person.
Yeah.
It's not because like I got an A in your subject or anything of the sort. But I'm like, from the more I talk about it with people, I'm seeing that that's very rare. That it's a blessing. I'm like, wow, this should be the norm. People shouldn't just be teachers because they can teach.
I think like teaching is arguably one of the most noble professions, because I think you're making someone become something as your 9 to 5 or as your 8 to 3:10.
Alrighty, let's go on. But so far we've just set up that they had a great relationship clearly, and whoever is writing this felt sad at losing their teacher.
So mmoja wa wanafunzi wenzangu alinipata nje nikiwa nimeketi upweke wakati wa breki. Yeye Roni alikosa cha kulalamikia. Kwenda kwake mwalimu niliyemwenzi hakungemkosesha usingizi. ila kilikuwa ni sherehe kwake. I'm Ronnie for real. Hakujali ndewe wala sikio. Kweli moyo wa kupenda na kuwiza huwa. Hakujua nilivyomheshimu Bwana Mwiria. Ukweli wa mambo ni kwamba mimi ndio niliochoma moyo zaidi ya yeyote na matukio hayo. Miaka ilikuwa imepita 2 tangu mimi kujiunga na shule ile. Siku yangu ya kwanza Mwalimu Mwiria alinipa mapokezi yaliyonijusurisha. Mtihani ambao alinipa ulikuwa mgumu kwangu, nikaanguka. Nilitanuka mwili kiasi cha kuchekelewa kwa. Walishangaa vipi nilikuwa bado katika shule ya msingi. Sahau kwamba mtihani ule ulikuwa ni wa darasa la 6. Nilikuwa mnene kama nguruwe. I relate. ni kwa sababu hiyo sikulazimishwa kurudia darasa la 5.
Okay. What does that even mean? There's so many problems with the premise of this, because one, it's something we also, like you said earlier, we saw in school, like, okay, you can't proceed to the next level if you don't do this. And now when you grow older, you come to realize, not everyone learns at the same pace. Some people have learning disabilities. School is just also not for everybody. So it's like, how do you decide to now punish people? And then how do you decide, like, this guy, he's just a big kid. He's not smart, but he can't be in a lower class because of his size. Do you see how, I don't know, messed up the system was or is?
Still kind of is, because I know like there were like kids in rural schools used to say the admission process was you had to put your hand over your head.
I remember, and touch your ear.
If you can't touch your ear, then you're not going to school. And I was like, what in the barbaric method of admission is that? But the thing I keep telling guys, it's like we've come to learn as adults that your grades really made for a very small percentage of the progress you'd make in life, especially like in terms of like careers and things you choose to do. There's people who had really good grades and they went left with their careers, and there are people who had really bad grades and they went like on the right direction, a different direction, and took a different tangent and really excelled at them.
So education is key, false or not, or true?
Education isn't key, it's just important.
Alrighty. So from what I'm gathering from the relationship as we go on, this kid generally joined at a disadvantage, bad at school, fat kid, and this teacher is the one who showed him love, which, I'm finding kind of cute so far. Okay. So kutembea kwangu kulikuwa ni kwa shida. Nilichekwa. Mara moja wakinibandika jina la Yokozuna. You remember Yokozuna?
The trauma. You know what guys used to call me in primary school?
No.
Chowder. No, Chowder was in high school. Chowder was in high school. Primary school was Mendoza.
Fat Dog Mendoza.
Yep. They didn't. Oh yeah.
Okay, that's harsh.
So I definitely you
can relate to this kid. I relate to
but Yokozuna is all kinds of mean.
It is. Yokozuna is one who used to put his bum on people.
No, that's Rikishi.
Or Rikishi.
That was Rikishi. Mimi sikunena wala kuwakasirikia. Lugha ya Kiingereza ambayo ndio ilisisitizwa sikuielewa vyema. Hakuna mwanafunzi hata mmoja aliyejaribu kufanya urafiki nami isipokuwa kunifanyia masihara. Zaidi ya yote sikujua kusoma. Gimba lisilo akili wao husema ni gogo. Waliniongeza jina Bahili.
I'm gonna look that up. Kamusi check. Bahili, mtu asiyependa kutumia au kutoa vitu vyake kwa wengine, mbanifu, mchoyo.
Okay.
So what's the thing with calling like chubby kids selfish,
I think it's because like he had a lot to his disadvantage. He was chubby. He didn't know how to read. He didn't know how to speak English. He was slow in school. Like people just were like, if you have nothing to give.
Okay,
like,
to be called
these
selfish.
Kids are very mean.
It's like calling a homeless kid like, wow, why wouldn't you give me your food? Like, I don't have any.
Yeah.
It
so
doesn't
it's
make
like
sense.
They were asking for too much from someone who has nothing.
Yes, indeed.
And this methali is just, oof. So gimba lisilo na akili ni gogo. So gimba ni umbo mkubwa wa kitu au mtu mwenye mjengo wa unene wa mwili. And then mtu mkubwa asiyekuwa na akili, asiyetumia akili ni sawa na pande kubwa la mti, which is gogo.
Wow.
So these kids were like, you can't be big and dumb.
At the
Choose
same
a struggle. On a struggle.
Kids were mean. So let's go back to our chubby kids struggles.
Haikuwa mara ya kwanza mimi kudhihakiwa na kukebehiwa. Mengi nilizoea hata hayangenitayarisha tena. Mimi nilikaa chonjo na kuyahimili na kuyastahimili matusi kutoka kila pande. Kuchekwa hakukuwa ni ajabu tena. Walimu nao ni kama hawakunijali. Nilishindwa kujitetea. Nilitamani kuwa na marafiki. Hakuna aliyejitolea mhanga kutaka uhusiano nami. Awe ni msichana mwenzangu au mvulana, hakukuwa na kunitetea. Dunia nzima ilinichukia. Dahaliani nilikuwa upweke. So we've established that the writer is a babe.
Yes.
Okay.
I wanted to see if you would catch it because I wanted to ask you the gender of the writer later.
Okay,
But
yeah.
Good. A student.
Yeah. Attention
To detail.
Yeah. Siku moja nilizindwa na machungu ya roho. Mmoja wa wale waliopenda kunitania vibaya alifika nilikoketi na kuanza kucheka kunicheka. Alituhubu kuniuliza, wewe na ndovu, nani mwenye mbio zaidi ya mwingine? Kati yako na nguruwe, yupi anayemzidi mwingine kwa mafuta mwilini? Sidhani wewe huhitaji kula wala kujipaka mafuta. Unang'ara tayari. Wewe huona njaa kweli. Mori ilinipanda nikiwa mwenye mafutu. Wenzake waliendelea kuterema. This sounds like Mbogi Ngeje.
It honestly does.
Mbogi Genje.
You know, because we want to do kamusi checks, but you can't kamusi check everyone.
Mori, nilipanda niko mwenye. Na mafutu wenzake kuterema.
It's like...
This is written by Wala bin Wala.
Alrighty.
Yeah.
So clearly, again, in trouble. I don't know why kids were so mean. Wewe ni ndovu, nani mwenye mbio. Wewe na ndovu, nani mwenye mbio. Mbio zaidi. Hush. Kati yako na nguruwe ni yupi.
This was just harsh. There's no humor within it as well.
Yeah, it's actually just mean.
Kama kuna siku nilipokaribia kumeza wembe nife. Na kutoweka kabisa kutoka dunia hii ilikuwa siku hiyo. Niliwaza kujinyonga kwa kuwa sikuthaminiwa na yeyote. Mwanafunzi huyo mtukuti aliendelea kuniuliza ni yupi niliyefanana naye kati ya familia yetu. Ni mama ama baba? Aliniuliza kikatili. Lazima wavyele wako wote wawe ni kama wewe. Na utazeeka darasa la 6 jamani. That is crazy.
Do you think this is things this kid was going through? Because they've been very descriptive about the jokes and the meanness.
Yeah.
And their place in class and in that school and how they felt. I'm just like, because this is like 4 or 5 paragraphs just describing what they were going through. Do you feel like this kid was like, you know what, this is my catharsis, this is my healing, I'll write it out?
I feel like if this kid didn't go through this, then he really has like
a future
great imagination.
in fiction.
Yeah. Singewezana tena kuvumilia. Jawabu kwangu ilikuwa ni kuachana na shule kabisa. Huku wenzake wakiendelea kunizingira wakiangua vicheko. Nilimkimbiza kijana yule. Kumbe ndivyo nilivyomaliza kwa vicheko. Kukimbia kwangu kulikuwa ni kama kuraruka kwa kobe yule mzembe. Hakujisumbua kutoroka, bali kutembea kwa haraka akinipa chenga zilizozidisha vicheko. Hata mwalimu mmoja aliyekuwa karibu na nini aliumia mabavu kwa vicheko. Ni wakati huo ambapo mwalimu Mwiria alitokea kwa kishindo akitetemeka. Wahenga na wahenguzi hakika walinena ya kwamba lisilokuja asubuhi huja jioni. Alimwangalia mwalimu yule akakosa la kumwambia. Nusura amrukie kijana yule na kumchabanga makofi. Alikuwa na hasira, sahau kwamba ni hasara. Alimwadhibu vikali pamoja na wote waliosha shirikiana nao. Mzaha ulitumbuka usaha. Huo ndio ulikuwa mwisho wao wakunitania jinsi ile walikoma.
Now we are making progress.
Yeah.
We get why she loved the teacher so much,
Yeah.
and why she was so hurt. But then the other thing is when he talks about like feeling like almost giving up, and you know he's being bullied, and the other kids are watching and laughing, and there's even teachers watching and laughing.
Yeah.
It reminds me that sometimes some of our biggest bullies were actually teachers.
Yep.
Which is messed up because I don't think they even realize it.
Yeah.
You hang around kids too long, you become a kid. Somehow. Does that make sense?
I think like for teachers, it was their own trauma. This was the only place they had control. I remember like someone used to tell us like I can't remember what subject it was, but there was a teacher who at home was, I think the husband was some military guy.
Yeah.
And used to call the shots at home. And this teacher used to be really mean in our class. Because I think the only place she could exercise control is in the classroom. Because she knows once that bell for 310 rings and she goes back home, she becomes now like...
The subordinate.
Yeah, the subordinate.
But it's true now that I actually think about it. Even a lot of the teachers in school who were the strictest, when, tea spreads around in Inini or you get to meet their kids and stuff,
Yeah.
they're out of control.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so now you found people that you can control
Yeah.
and you're exerting it because your household is clearly out of your hands.
And that becomes a thing. Because I remember, growing up, we also had kids in our school who were like, the parents were teachers in the same school. And they're really not the best performing students, not the best in sports, not the best discipline-wise. And you could see like their dad was the strictest. And then who tells you to read hard and become something. And you're like, if you can't do it to your own kids, why are you forcing it on us?
You're right, it's a control
It's a cliche.
thing.
Yeah.
Just looking for control.
Yeah. Go to Bifika up.
We're just, he's been saved from the bullies by Mwalimu Mwiria.
Okay. Mwalimu huyo.
She's been saved. So she's been saved by the bullies, from the bullies by Mwalimu Mwiria.
Mwalimu huyo ndio alisimama kidete nami kuhakikisha singe hangaishwa na yoyote. Akawa ni kama baba mzazi mwenye kunijali. Alielewa sikujua kusoma, hakunizomea wala kuniita majina. Nilishindwa hata kuamini ukarimu wake kwangu. Nilizoea kuitwa mjinga na mwalimu, lakini huyo alikuwa tofauti na ni mkarimu. Alichukua jukumu la kunifundisha huku akinitia motisha. Hakuna mwanafunzi jura dunia hii, alinieleza kwa unyenyekevu. Ujue hivyo, mradi tu uwe na tamaa ya kutaka kujua kusoma utafaulu. Alijitoa kwa hiari kunisaidia. Alianza kunifundisha kusoma Kiswahili na pia Kiingereza. Baada ya miezi isiyopungua 3, nilikuwa mweledi wa kusoma. Hakukomea hapo. Licha ya kuwa hakuwa mwalimu wangu wa hisabati, alianza kunifunza somo hilo kwa utaratibu ambao niliuelewa. Akianzia na kazi ya madrasa ya chini kabisa. Nilianza kufanya vyema mtihanini. Alikuwa tofauti sana na walimu waliozoea kuniaibisha mbele ya wenzangu. Okay, so I guess now we get to see why Mwalimu Mwiria
was her
such a
favorite.
sweetheart. Yeah.
I do get it, but then I wonder how many teachers could be like this if maybe they didn't have a classroom of 50,
Yeah.
It's some things are structural. Like you want to blame them, but then it's also it's partly not their fault. Because if I have 50 kids and I notice 10 are struggling,
Yeah.
I cannot give all 10 individual attention. I can't stay after class with all 10
Yeah.
of them, So how do you fix those things? And as much as you want to be like, okay, teachers sometimes, can be neglectful, at the same time, how do you give them a proper support system for them to be like the caregivers that they're meant to be?
Yeah, and obviously they need to be better compensated.
Obviously,
Because
yes.
there's no classroom you'd ever walk in and you ask the kids, what do you want to be when you grow up? And people say, I want to be a teacher. Unless like maybe you're in Brookhouse or whatever. Because no one wanted to be like the teachers who educated us. We used to be with them in the same matatus coming to school.
Yeah.
We used to like see them like go through all this pain. They never looked successful. Because I think the idea for us painted, the way success was painted when you were kids was like
money.
a nice house, a nice car, nice clothes, nice everything. But maybe there are people who are being successful in their fields, but it didn't reflect financially. If like there's a teacher whose entire class scored A's in their subject, I guess that's successful.
That is a successful person in my view, yeah.
Yeah.
Alrighty, let's finish up. So I'm guessing at least we get to see now why she felt so close to Mwalimu Mwiria.
Ningewezaje kujimudu bila huyo mwalimu shupavu, mwenye bidii kwa kazi na mvumilivu, kujua akielekea kwenda kwingineko. Kwa bahati nzuri, alihamishwa katika shule ya karibu iliyokuwa jirani. Hakuna aliyeweza kunikamiza nibaki nikisomea hapo, kwani niliamua kumfuata mwalimu yule niliyempenda. Ama kweli, kipendacho roho ni dawa.
I feel like at least we got a happy ending for her.
Which is nice,
she moved. I do know. I'm thinking like the bullying for me was probably the biggest issue. It was meant to be about the teacher, yes.
Yeah.
But the bullying for me is really what struck a chord.
Yeah.
And then also it's like what structures, because this teacher seemed to be working against everything else to be a good teacher, to be anti-bullying and everything.
Yeah.
Did you ever were you ever in a school, either high school or primary, where you felt like the system was for you and was trying to protect you from bullies? Or you felt like, one and the same was up?
I feel like it was... I can't say it was for bullies or it was for the people, because unless the bullying was so severe is when the school like took action. Like if you got beaten to a pulp and you got swollen, and if your bullying was visible, then the school would do something about it. But there was a lot of things that were happening in school that no one would talk about, because then in boys' school culture it was snitches get stitches.
Yeah.
So a teacher asks you like, why do you have a black eye? You're like, I fell. Because if you say that, hey, Mwangi
Sounds
hit
like
me
an
on the face.
abusive
Yeah.
relationship.
It was very abusive.
Why do you have a black eye? I fell.
And this was our normal. This was like the normal tangent. And then it's something that you're like, I can't wait to get to Form 4 so I can do this to some Form 1. And then it becomes worse.
Is that about
and
who
worse.
you are as a person?
Yeah.
Because I always wonder, when you grow up and you talk to people about bullying, you always meet the people who were bullied. No one ever says they were the bully.
Yeah.
So is it that no one was the
I
bully
think
in high
people
school?
grow up and then become embarrassed about their actions.
I saw this conversation online recently, on Twitter especially, about abolishing boarding schools and whether that's a conversation worth having. I don't know where you stand on that.
I don't think like boarding schools are the problem. I think like how they're structured is, because I honestly, I understand that people come from different families and not every parent can afford having their kid go to school and come back home every day. And this is not just on terms financial. It's maybe I'm a parent who has like a serious 9 to 5. I leave the house at 6. I come back at 8.
Yeah.
I'm not there to cook for my child. I can't afford a house help to look after the child. So it's like I'm gonna send them to boarding school. So as they're working hard in school, I can work hard in my quarters. I feel like the system internally for boarding schools needs to change, become less prisony and more schooly.
Yes.
I don't get why it's like as it was a problem for your parents to come visit you on any other day but visiting day. Some parents used to figure the gate, I'm here to see my son. And then they're like, why?
How can you be denied access
Yeah.
to your own child? That happened to my mom once. I
yeah.
think she was called in for like a disciplinary issue. I can't remember, but I think I was in Form 1 or 2.
Yeah.
And then after talking to the principal and stuff, she's like, okay, can I go see her? And the principal said no. And she's
Yeah.
like, you're denying me access to
my child,
they came out of my womb, literally.
Yeah.
You're like, you can't see them. Make it make sense.
I feel like it should be that. Like kids should be allowed to leave the school on weekends, go see their parents if they want. Parents should be allowed to drop into school anytime.
Yes.
Just come. It doesn't have to be at you have come with food and everything, but we can come sit in the car, have a conversation.
I agree.
Or go to class and just walk around school and talk.
That's true.
Or I can come with your uncle who you haven't seen in a while, who just flew in for 2 weeks and they're living.
Yes.
And you can come talk to them. I feel like it's that. Secondly, I feel like the routines inside school don't have to be like prison routines. I don't get why there is daytime uniform and nighttime uniform. I feel like kids should be allowed to wear sweatpants and shorts and t-shirts and vests.
Yeah. Like
And
be
just chill.
comfortable.
Yeah. And then you can wear your uniform when you're back to class.
Yes. Thank you so much, Moss, for reading this fantastic intro for us.
Thank you so
and
much
for
for
making
having
the
me.
time
Yeah.
and for giving us fantastic insights.
Thank you.
Thank you at home for listening as well and for supporting us. You can follow us on all our social media platforms at Hadithi Pod. Of course, like our content and review it. Tell us what you like. Tell us about what made you happy. And we'll see you on the next one. This podcast is produced by Yasmin Hassan, recorded and mixed by Josh Omondi, theme music done by Josh Omondi, and additional music by Kevin McLeod of Incopitech.com. Special thanks goes to Steve Amadi of Fancy Compositions and Inchas.